painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking, KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Art Beat. Art Beat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Art Beat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Today on Art Beat, we go to Carpet Booth Studios in Rochester, Minnesota to hear from the owner and all-round mastermind behind the studio, producer and engineer extraordinaire, Zach Zurn. Zach takes us through the history of the studio, his early days of recording music, and what it takes to operate a successful professional recording facility. After some very humble beginnings in Rochester, Carpet Booth is now located just south of town in an old church with 2 studio spaces and a whole bunch of amenities. Carpet Booth Studios works with all kinds of artists from all over, from up-and-coming stars to scene staples to names you know and maybe a few that you don't. The team at Carpet Booth have helped create both gold and platinum records and show no signs of slowing as they continue to be a positive influence in the upper Midwest music scene and beyond. I'm Bill Stoneberg with founder of Carpet Booth Studios, Zach Zurn, today on Art Beat. How you doing today, Zach?
Doing good.
Awesome. A long time coming, this interview. We've been trying to set something up, and I'm so happy to be here today. Thanks for joining us. For our listeners who may or may not, have any knowledge of what you guys do here, give us a little background. Like, how did you get started in recording music, and how do we get to where we are today in this awesome facility?
I fell in love with songwriting and making records from a really young age, and kind of everything I did education-wise, extracurricular-wise, ever since like late elementary school was targeted towards being able to write songs and make records. And so lucky enough to do it today. I was stubborn enough to do it today, I think. I heard somebody say, it was in the comedian space, but somebody said once, like, how do you know who the most successful people are? It's like this just because they didn't quit, basically. Yeah. I think obviously talent, et cetera, connections, but I think that's so true. So anyways, a little quip there. But and so long story short, ended up in Rochester and was having to travel up to Minneapolis a bit to work in different studios up there, and got a temporary space in Rochester to work out of. Really, the intention was just to get out of my house and to have a songwriting, production, and mixing space for myself for the projects I was working on. And it kind of accidentally snowballed into a public recording space. And I got busy all of a sudden. The kind of market validated itself that it needed somebody who knew what they were doing really well, and a space to accommodate kind of regional artists. Eventually we upgraded to this space that we're in, which is an old church in the south side of Rochester on the city limits, and built a Studio A and a Studio B, and we've been here since 2018.
Nice. So when you originally started here in Rochester, it was mainly for your own use, and then you said it kind of snowballed, so I'm guessing like maybe you did some recording for some friends' bands, things like that. Is that how it went down?
Yeah, exactly. This band called Local Sports, which was this really cool kind of punky band. They're not together anymore, but yeah, all the guys in that band were my best friends growing up, and we used to play in just like garage bands and stuff together. We did their first project at my little project studio, and word kind of just spread in a small but budding local music scene, and just got a lot of phone calls and emails saying, "Can you do my record? Can I come and record?" And yeah, it was shocking to me. Right. I was really surprised, but happy that I didn't have to get in the car and travel all over to do it. I've never really wanted to live in LA or Nashville or any one of those things, especially there. And even then, like most of my I have a 5-year-old son, and like his grandparents are all in Rochester, and I got a good community here, so it's a good pace of life.
Right. Well, it almost sounds like the scene kind of showed you that there was a need for this, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't have dove so deep in if I didn't have that validation.
Right. So for people who aren't, familiar with music recording or recording studios, give us a quick rundown of the types of services you guys offer. What do you mainly do here?
Yeah, typically any recording studio is going to offer recording and typically mixing services. So recording is the band coming in, and we have microphones and gear to capture that sound. Right. And then mixing is taking all those sounds that we've captured and kind of blending them together with volumes and equalization to make them sound pleasing. Right. But then some studios expand into mastering, which is the final process of the record making process on the technical side, and then what's unique here, and there's plenty of studios that do this, but I think what's unique about our team is most of our staff are writers and producers, kind of even before we're audio engineers. Okay. And so we kind of approach record making from, I guess, looking through that lens. Right. Song first, production first, rather than a really surgical, technical view on audio engineering. Mm-hmm. That's not a good nor bad, better or worse, approach. I love when people have a different mindset about it. Mm-hmm. So it's just a unique thing to us that if your record or your artist project, is right for that, or you need somebody that has that mindset, then we could be a better fit for you. And I do a lot of sessions here that have nothing to do with recording. It's just songwriting sessions, or just production sessions, or just kind of consultation sessions even, where somebody comes in and they said, I've made this dance album, it's EDM or whatever it is. It's 10 songs and I'm mixing it. And I want to be the mixer, but let's book a full day for you to come in and give me critiques, maybe add a few little elements. And I love those kind of things too, just kind of being a finisher for folks. Right. So yeah, those are some of the things. And then we have a large space, so we, also house people. They stay overnight here when they travel in from far away as well to do their records as well.
Nice. So for some of our listeners who might not be familiar with this process, can you give us a quick, what's the difference between audio engineer and producer?
Yeah. Audio engineering is, kind of in layman's terms, really, I think, technically minded. And so it's knowing which microphones to choose for different sound sources, where to place those microphones to get different tonal captures, and depending on the style of music we're doing, when, where, and why to choose the different pieces of gear, basically, to fit that style. And then producing is more of the creative kind of side. Now, both, creative and technical sides exist in both, camps, but overarching, kind of terminology here. So producers historically help with the creative vision. They'll even be the people that will organize session players coming in. So session players are, let's say if it's a solo pop artist that doesn't know how to play a lot of instruments, they'll be the ones that will, session players will be the ones that are coming in and playing guitar on the record or drums on the record. And so the producer is the one that has that really good network to know that I know these 20 bassists, but bassist A and bassist B are great at funk and disco, but they're not going to be the right players for country or something. But bassists F and G are the perfect guys for country, or, you know what I mean? Or this person's great for that. So, and I do have a great network, so it's great to be able to call friends and call colleagues and bring them in for different things like that. And a lot of producers in this day and age, like myself, are multi-instrumentalists as well. So I end up playing on basically every record I produce, whether it's drums, keys, guitar, bass, singing, whatever it is. And because I'm a writer as well, that's kind of meshed into that process, although it's not a prerequisite, so. So yeah, I think that's in layman's terms the difference. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you end up playing on a lot of stuff too, helping with ideas and things. How involved do you normally get, like on an artist project?
Super involved. Yeah. And I don't think I would have it another way. Right. I'm very blessed at this point in my career to be pretty picky about what I say yes to. Sure. And I don't mean that in a diva way at all, but yeah, I feel very, very lucky to be at that spot. And so I want to be able to feel invested emotionally into the project. And so if somebody's just wanting a really good engineer to just capture their project or something, it's not like I would be the wrong choice or something. And I still do that here and there, especially for people I know or people I just really respect, where they just don't need a producer. Either the songs are already there or it's just not the kind of music where they need somebody to really get into the weeds. Sure. Then I will kind of wear more of a hat where it's just like I'm thinking more technically here. And it's a nice change of pace for me as well. Sure. But yeah, for the vast majority of stuff I'm working on, I mean, I am involved from the songwriting process through the pre-production process, through the production process, through the recording process, through the mixing process. Wow. And then I'm really not mastering much anymore. Okay. And it's laborious and a lot, but I kind of live for it, you know? And really the best way I've had it kind of said that makes sense when I've said it is like I'm just kind of joining the band as an extra member or joining that solo artist, and we're a duo for the record making period, you know, because you grow really close, and and I love that process because I'm not playing in a band right now or anything, and so which is what I want, but it's fun to kind of join bands for periods of time.
Well, you're like everyone's fifth Beatle for the album, right?
Yeah. It's an honor. Yeah.
So you're not in a band right now?
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But you were in a band, right?
Yeah. I played in a band called Author. And I decided to step away a couple of months ago. I haven't really made an official announcement or anything, so this is your exclusive, your exclusive moment.
I can wait to air this.
No, it's not a secret at all. And there's no beef or anything. Sure. There's no negative reasons. Just ready for something new in my life. And Trevor and Cameron Bartlett, the two other guys in Author, have some awesome things planned for Author. And, you know, and we're still best buds. Right. And so I'm still planning on, you know, being part of the writing and production process. You know, that's our tentative plan as of now, at least. And it mainly just came down to I couldn't really commit to the shows and touring that they want to do and those sort of things. And they have some awesome things planned. So
okay, cool. Well, that kind of leads me to another question I had is like, since you wear so many different hats, do you prefer being the artist or being the producer, or is it so much crossover that it doesn't matter?
Definitely the producer.
Okay.
Yeah. It is my favorite thing in the world to be able to work on records that impact people and are influential in some way, but then kind of carry the anonymity with it.
Right.
You know, because I work with artists all the way from virtually unknown independent artists to, you know, larger, bigger scale artists that have some semblance of a celebrity status. Right. And for those that are in that more public eye, I do not envy that in any way. There's no judgment for that, but I just do not envy that in any way. So I love being part of those records and hearing those songs at the grocery store sometimes, and even hearing my voice singing on it sometimes or something, and then I'm bumping into somebody and they have no idea it's me. It's best of both worlds. So yeah, definitely I'm kind of a studio guy, producer guy. Being in the background is my favorite role.
Right. Okay, cool. Speaking of the artists you work with, and maybe this is like a time where you can like freely name drop, like who are some of the bigger artists that people might know about that you've worked with here?
Yeah. One of the larger artists I work with that's from the area originally is named Young Gravy, a larger rapper. And we've worked together since 2017 or 18. Cool. Yeah, it's been a long time. And we still work together a lot. Love working with him.
So do you keep relationships with a lot of artists if you can?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's pretty rare that I will have worked with an artist and not work with them again in some capacity. I mean, well, that happens once in a while for sure, but I definitely stay in touch. You know, I've never had any sort of tumultuous, you know, sort of thing happen like that. It's a great bonding experience making records together, you know. So, and I'd like to believe I'm a nice enough guy, you know, have that good relationship built. So, that.
Who else?
Let's see. We just got done with a record late last year. The singles are coming out slowly, but the whole record should be out later this year with this New Jersey-based hip-hop artist named Trippy the Kid.
Okay.
He's great, and there's a lot of features from members of 3-6 Mafia on there, Project Pat, Juicy J, DJ Paul, some other great hip-hop artists named like Sempra on there. So that was a really fun project to work on. Yeah, I'm working a ton with kind of like Hometown Heroes Gully Boys right now. We just wrapped an LP with them, and they just signed a really cool label deal that makes a lot of sense for them. It's awesome. And so hyped to see that out into the world. Yeah, those are just a few.
Okay, great. That's cool. And, and you mentioned also that you kind of live for this, right? That this is you're passionate about it, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So, it's sometimes people will say like, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, which I think there's truth in that, but I think there's also a flip side of that coin. If you love what you do, sometimes you're never not working. What side of that coin do you see yourself on, or how do you view this, you loving your work?
That's a great question, and I'll refrain from talking forever about it, but yeah, because I could, and it's something I talk with my staff a lot about, to make sure that balance in life is achieved, because
not getting burnout.
Yeah, exactly. Avoiding burnout and for our mental health. It is pretty cool to work a job that you enjoy, and I know very well how much of a blessing that is. And so it might even seem privileged to say that there's like a downside or a curse to it.
Yeah.
But it is true. I mean, I was even just talking with somebody the other day, and they were like, "What are you listening to right now, music-wise?" And I often say, I listen to podcasts when I'm not at the studio, because I'm listening to music all day, every day. And there's just seasons of life where I will be more inspired and I will listen to records, on my free time, in my free time. But there's a lot of seasons where I don't. And it's not like I hate music. It's I love it. But yeah, he's just a little burnt out sometimes.
You gotta give your ears a rest, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And even just work-life balance, that was something I really struggled with for a long time and have massively improved over that pandemic, and feel so happy to be in a better spot. Basically when I became a dad, it was like, okay, we gotta
start balancing.
Yeah. And it was awesome, and I'm so happy with the balance I have for the most part. There's still some wild weeks.
Sure.
But, I'm in therapy too, which is a massive thing that I would advocate to anybody. And so, one thing I try to do is factor in recovery time. So if I know I'm going to have a wild 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, then the next week or two after that are going to be chill, just to avoid that burnout.
Right. And that keeps you sharp for, so you're on your toes for every project, right?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want to screw somebody over by being at the end of that 2, 3, 4 week run and getting, fumes from me.
Right. Totally. That's awesome, man. Sometimes people talk about like, happy accidents in the studio. Do you have any cool stories about things that have happened in the studio that weren't planned out, but were like, oh my God, I'm glad that happened?
Oh, brother. The answer is definitely yes, but they happen so often. It's just a daily occurrence.
Well, maybe we could go a different way on that too, a different route. Like, how much do songs evolve in the studio, or is it like, or is a lot of their birth happening in the studio?
It's definitely project dependent.
Okay.
Definitely project dependent, but how I like to do records, and how I've seen kind of the most success as far as success meaning how much we enjoy the process, how honest and authentic we feel like we're being to that creation process, and a bit of success as far as what influence does it have to the fans and the listenership, and maybe some industry success. That doesn't really mean that much to me a lot of the time. So that's a critical part of the process for me, in letting them evolve a ton during the process. If I'm a big organizational guy and I'm all for having a tight pre-production process and having, I'm very organized in my Dropbox even and things like that. But if you're too rigid in that, you're shooting yourself in the foot and preventing yourself from having those happy accidents and those sort of things. So yeah, you've really got to leave space for the mojo to kind of sneak in, And I mean, those are I I've said often to my team and to artists, the two situations in which I've seen the most magic happen in the record making process are happy accidents and when I mute stuff. That's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, you can kind of get so caught up in stacking, adding, that subtracting is this wonderful breath of fresh air. Right. And then all of a sudden you pull out this instrument that's taken up a lot of maybe sonic or frequency space, or just maybe taken up a lot of rhythmic information. It's really frequently played. And oh my God, it's not always the right move to keep it out, but it will inspire you to say, it doesn't need to be, that acoustic doesn't need to be in 80% of the song or doing that same strumming pattern all the time. We'd serve it, serve the song better by having it do diamonds or something, instead of 16-note strums all the time. Muting is my secret weapon, which is such a dumb secret weapon, but it's so true. I don't know how far in the process, maybe 60, 70, 80% down the production recording route, I like to start to do that, peel things back, and it just opens you up to new ideas.
Remember where you started, right? And where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, it's a great way to say it. Yeah.
And I love how you said letting the songs evolve. Like you're allowing for it in your planning process, it sounds like.
You have to factor that in, yeah. And I mean, and realistically, there's a lot of people that just like don't have the time or the budget to do that. So I realize that. I'm very well aware of independent budgets. But when the time allows to experiment and sit in the song and make mistakes and, that is absolutely the best processes I've found. I find too many people come in and just say, this is how the song exists, this is how it has to end. But if you're trusting the producer and the team that you're working with, and you trust their taste and their preferences and their skill set and their character, and you're going to be open and malleable to their professional opinion, their suggestions, then that's just a match made in heaven. You know what I mean? Because you're getting outside opinion, but somebody who also has had these deep conversations with you, understanding what your vision is. Right. And again, I'm not saying I'm the best producer in the world or the best writer in the world. There's so many people in my same position that would be able to offer that same sort of benefit to a record-making process. But yeah, I'm a huge advocate for collaboration in that way, as long as the people are trustworthy and good at what they do. Yeah.
Well, it's invaluable to an artist to have another set of ears and another brain, right? I mean, I would think anyway.
Yeah, and I say that often when I'm on the phone with folks, and they'll either straight up ask me, like, why should I come to Carpet Booth over another place, or just, like our rates are, not extremely cheap. So they're kind of asking a little bit about that. And I'll say often, I love our space. I think it's awesome. We have a lot of really cool gear, a lot of fun toys and instruments to play with. Our room, our live room, and all our ISO rooms and our control room is awesome, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the biggest value add, where the money comes in, is the team. Right. And that probably sounds super cocky, but that should be really anyone's biggest value add, because we're hearing records made in hotel rooms and on tour buses and bedrooms that are mind-blowing. So we know the gear is not the end-all be-all reason, right? It's really the taste and preferences and skill set of the people making it.
Right. So you brought up a couple interesting points there. Like, it's 2025, and like you said, there's albums being made in hotel rooms, lots of stuff being made in people's homes, and so I'm hearing the biggest maybe benefit that you guys offer to artists is your skill set and knowledge. So you and your staff, were you always of that kind of mindset and open, or like when you're hiring new people, maybe what do you look for in someone? What are the qualities that you guys need to have as engineers and producers specifically to help an artist, find their vision, accomplish it? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you work with so many different styles and people, how do you become that open?
I mean, it all starts with our internships. I've never hired anyone to be a staff member here in any capacity that hasn't started as an intern here.
Cool.
And that kind of comes from just an old school studio model that it doesn't really exist much. It's really rare to find, but I'm just a big advocate for it. It's kind of like a family kind of a, thing.
How do you get to that point? Because I know a lot of people, we start out and maybe someone is like, they're into metal and that's what they do. That's where their brain is and that's all they do. And to switch over and do something, to do a rap artist, to do a country artist, to do a metal artist. How do you gain that kind of,
Yeah, that's a great point. Great question. I think it's just a bit intrinsic. It's probably a cop-out answer, but it's genuine. I know from a very young age when I was thinking about I want to do this as a career, one phrase I would say right after I would finish I want to do this as a career out loud, I would say, but I don't want to be siloed into one style or genre.
Nice.
I always looked up to the producers that were working in many different genres. The biggest one that everybody knows is like a Rick Rubin or something. Mm-hmm. We're very different as far as how we approach record making and our skill sets and things like that. But the main thing I pulled from him was he approaches record making from a song first perspective, and he's multi-genre, and he refuses to do anything differently. He's not some big North Star for me, but just an example.
He's someone everyone kind of knows today.
It's kind of colloquial. Yeah. So, and so I think the people that intern here that end up being staff members here just were cut from a similar cloth.
Right.
And I wouldn't put that on paper as a prerequisite, but it's just something that I think I pick up on inherently when I'm interviewing and when I'm getting to meet people, because I'm really, really picky with who we say yes to intern here, because there's several times they turn into employees, and just to keep it frank, I don't want to really invest a lot of time, energy, and resources into interns that may not have the potential to have a career in the industry, whether it benefits us or not, but especially if it can benefit us, that'd be great, we're just training them. So, and then one thing I always say with the interns is that the two main things I'm always looking for is, do they have potential in their skill set, and are they a person of good character? That's always what I say. And I just find that, those boxes have been checked, almost all the time. And so I think that bleeds into why we would be open, because if I'm hiring people that are people of good character and just have a potential and skill set, then they're just malleable people. And they're willing to, or wanting to soak in, and willing to soak in so much different type of information and knowledge. If you're kind of tracking with what I'm saying here, right? So then as they soak that all in on what I do here, and they see me as an example, I'm not saying I'm the perfect example, but just one example of somebody who works on punk one day and rap the next day and choir the next day, then they see this as an example of this diversity is really fun and really cool. And it's great. And at the same time, everybody has their backgrounds and the things that I like to listen to on my own that then give me strengths to work on. I think I'm better at certain genres than others because I grew up with them or something. But at the same time, not in a cocky way, but just in full confidence, give me any style of music to produce and I'll knock it out the park. That's really what I feel like at this point, which is a fun place to be at. Just because it's about the song and about the emotion and the energy,
Totally. Oh, that's a great answer, man. I love it. Absolutely love it. And then also, in this day and age, like of, bedroom producers and things like that. And I heard you talk about, if someone's recording something at home, they can bring it in here and you'll help out. So do you see that like the cost of entry into this business has gone way down with, technology? Do you see that as a competition at all? Or is it like a symbiotic relationship? Like how do you view home recording versus the studio?
You could look at it that way, but that's pretty lame. I've heard so many studio owners or people in my position just moan and complain about that. And I get it. Especially, I think I'm a little unique that I wasn't a commercial studio owner during the beginning of that transition.
Right.
So I'm completely sympathetic to folks that were, because that had to be a really shocking experience. Because I can sum this up in a brief story about my upbringing and my career is when I knew I wanted to do this, like I said, all my extracurriculars, my education went towards I wanted to do this. And my goal was to get hired at a studio as an intern, graduate in an apprentice role, hopefully, assistant engineer, and then get hired as an engineer, because that's how studios and studio complexes works. That was the ladder, just like a corporate sort of entity. And by the time I was about a sophomore in high school, that model was dead. And there was, a couple studios in LA and maybe one in Nashville or something that was doing that, it was few and far in between. So I knew that if I ever had the luxury to have my own commercial space, I'd like to employ that old one, because I saw all the benefits from it. I understood why practically, pragmatically, and financially people couldn't really employ that model that often. But yeah, I'd want to do that. And I just I have a huge passion for education and helping these kids that are young achieve their passions. And but anyways, so that's kind of a small little vignette of how the industry changed at that time, right? And so bring on the home recording. I think it's amazing. And people are now, I think the exact same conversation is happening now with AI.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to say
we don't even.
Yeah, I'm not even, I don't even have that many opinions on it.
It's too early, right?
It's too early, and I'm not an expert in it. And I think the biggest thing, like my value add, I said, or what the biggest value of our studio is me and my team's personal tastes, preferences, and skill sets. So sure, you might have an app that could mix your song for you in 10, 15, 20 years. So yeah, maybe we get way less mixing work from a lot of the people that just need somebody to do a quick technical job.
Right.
But there's always going to be people that want the equivalent of like hand painted.
Right.
They want to see the brush strokes instead of the, Mid-Journey AI equivalent of art. I'm not saying neither's good or bad or better or worse. It's just all different. So it'll work out. It'll be fine, man.
I love that, man. And especially the educational piece too. It's kind of interesting, I think, how as time moves on and things evolve and change, sometimes we dip back into the past for ideas like your whole structure here with the interns and stuff. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really worked for us. And it's cool to see, everybody leaving here and going out and having success. My first ever 3 interns, the first one, his name's Nicola Hamilton. He's living in New York City, working full time at one of the world's best audiobook studios now. And this is not in a cocky way, we're puffing ourselves up, but his resume piece was working at Carpet Booth Studios, and he got this amazing gig out there and he's killing the game. Cool. And then our next 2 interns, interned here for a few years, went to Berklee College of Music, graduated, and they're absolutely killing it in the touring and production game out in Boston. And we have so many more examples of people after that, that are just going out and doing their own thing. And those people, those first 3, they still work part-time for me, just remotely,
Oh, cool.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it makes me so happy and proud to see the small kind of part I can play in people's lives and careers and see them flourish.
Right. Yeah. Cool. That kind of brings me to something else I wanted to talk about was what do you see as like the value to your community as a whole, or society in general, to having a facility like this in Rochester?
We want to be a hub where people can be proud to come make records here. And I think we've absolutely, achieved that. We want to support the artists that are from the area, however we can. So that comes in, giving big discounts, great discounts when we can, We support a bunch of festivals and shows and open mics that happen around the area. Anything we can do to kind of, just support artists and musicians and art organizations around the area, we do. I think having, whether it's us or anybody else in our position, having like a commercial recording studio at this size and working at our level is a sign of just massive growth, that we've been able to be working as a studio since 2017 and growing every single year. And, there's no sign of us slowing down or anything at this point. I feel that's just a testament of, what Rochester's doing as a whole. So it's not just us doing this, supposed great business thing or whatever it is. It's the community needed it. Sure, we filled it, but they've stepped up to the plate. And there's enough people that actually need to, use these services. And there's other, all the venues in town, that there's more and more popping up. So it's a cool time to be a part of the growing Rochester music scene. And we kind of got in on the ground floor as far as Rochester music scene has always had these. I mean, there's been like seasons, right, where it's kind of gets a little big and then kind of dies down a little bit. This one feels a little bit different. I obviously could be a bit biased because I'm, really big into it right now. But, we're the third biggest city in Minnesota, and we've had a lot of people move here from places like Winona that were integral to the music scene there. And we just got a lot of good momentum behind us now. Places like Thesis Beer Project that are, operating as an amazing venue or doing amazing things. And so we just feel super honored, and it's a big part of what we're doing is being super integrated into our local community. Yeah.
Well, that's just it. Scenes don't exist on nothing, right? It's everyone pulling together to make it happen, and you're part of that.
Yeah, we're honored to be. Yeah.
Cool. Where can people go, like, if they're interested in, like, utilizing your services or if they just want to see the facility, like, what's your website?
Yeah, carpetbooth.com, or Instagram is just @carpetbooth.
Okay, cool. And then there's info on there to about the services and to contact you.
Yep, exactly. All that info's on there. And if somebody's seriously interested about booking time or interested to see the space, we do free studio tours too.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Do you have any advice for home producers or maybe like a teenager in their bedroom with their first audio workstation? What advice would you give them?
So much. But I mean, we were already kind of talking about this, so I'll just piggyback off of it of just don't get obsessed with the gear. It's more about the performances. And what I would say to somebody doing that kind of stuff at home is do not get obsessed about the gear. It's more about the performances and the kind of energy and emotion behind those. Make sure you're kind of putting your all into the song first. Obviously, like I said in this interview, that's what matters most to me before the really big technical part of things. And be okay with making mistakes. That's how you literally learn. I still do it today. I will do it for the rest of my life, making mistakes and learning from it. But don't be your biggest enemy and get in your own way and get too obsessed about, I need this kind of equipment before I can do all these sort of things. It is the biggest farce and the biggest lie you will ever do, and it will stop you in your tracks, before you can even start.
Stay out of the YouTube rabbit holes, right? I've been down them myself.
Yeah. And they can be helpful in a lot of ways, especially, like I said, if we're not worried about the gear and you got one mic to work with, then maybe go down one or two rabbit holes to figure out, how do I best utilize this one microphone? Because, man, you're going to make some incredible records with one mic as long as the right energy and emotion are put into the takes and the song is a quality song.
Oh, totally. Oh, my God, that's a great quote right there. I love that. One more thing. What to you, at the end of the day, what makes this all worth it for you?
I think just a a sense of fulfillment and joy. Yeah. I've always said that I want to wake up every day and be not miserable about having to go to work. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier in the interview, I'm just like stubborn enough to have now been doing this career for so long, and it's been really tough in moments. The kind of journey to this point is pretty tumultuous at times, but I'm really glad I did it because I get to wake up and work on some amazing stuff. And yes, if you love what you do, you say you never work a day in your life. That's not true. There's a lot of work I have to do as a studio owner, all the accounting and invoice, all that stuff. But I'm not complaining at the same time. I honestly don't really hate that kind of work.
It's worth it, right?
It's totally worth it because I get to feel fulfilled. Like, I'm not a very spiritual person, but the closest feeling I get to that is, honestly, those kind of happy accidents. That's a good little bookend here. Those happy accidents during the record-making process, it feels like my calling in some way. It's like, I can't believe I get to just be a part of these songs making themselves sometimes. That sounds so heady and so pretentious, but it's so incredibly true. And there are moments where, like, I'll just look over to the artist, or, like, grab the artist's hand and be like, what the heck just happened? Yeah. Like, that was so special. Get tears in our eyes or something. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I didn't do anything. That wasn't because of my music theory training in school, right, or because I twisted enough preamp knobs to know what to do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, anyways, it's just cool to be along for the ride, and I love that people trust me enough to work on their art with them. It's awesome.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Zach Zurn of Carpet Booth Studios for joining us today on Artbeat. Check out Carpet Booth Studios at carpetbooth.com. For more conversations on art, tune into Artbeat Tuesdays at 12:30 right here on 89.5 KQAL. For podcasts of Artbeat and other KQAL original programming, go to kqal.org. I'm Bill Stoneberg, and we've just heard from founder of Carpet Booth Studios, Zach Zurn, today on Artbeat.
Artbeat is written and produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.